dangle one of my mouth.
All right, guys. Big Paul here.
R2D2
Todd's trying to figure out his mic. What's up, everybody? I've got to run my ads and my disclaimer so you guys know not to go do stupid things.
That's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's like Thanos taking over a planet.
Stupid things. It just means you're not liable.
Don't be an idiot, Paul. We'll start in just 1 second. Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, Gym Bros, we're here. Oh man, we only got 6 people watching. It's a shitty birthday party. A lot of people catch these on the replay. I think the last one we now people are coming in. Last one we did, Todd, I think we had like 300 at peak when we were on, but then at the end after on the replay, I had like 3,500 people watch it on the replay.
Well, did you advertise this?
Yeah, I promoted it.
For some reason, I didn't see any ads for this, but I saw ads.
I think I forgot to tag you because I'm an idiot. I still suck at social media. It's bewildering to me that I've had success at it because I still don't fully understand everything. But then I'm trying to figure out how to use Instagram and shit.
Well, they change it. I mean, I've been doing this for what 10 years. I'm not any good at it because the rules keep changing a lot. I mean, the culture is completely different in 10 years, but that's not what you're talking about.
Nah, I'm an audio video guy. I know how to make that look good, but I don't know how to use social media. I think a year ago I had like 200 followers on Instagram. It was pretty crazy. Hey everybody, I got my trading partner Colin. Chewbacca uncircumcised. We brought him into the mix today.
What's up, y'all?
We've seen him in the background. He is the inventor of the anabolic sandals, in case you were wondering.
That's right.
Colin is the proprietor and inventor of the anabolic sandal, and he wears sandals to the gym 365 days a year. It doesn't matter if it's snowing, raining, what the hell's going on.
I'm just lazy. I don't like to tie shoelaces.
Tom asked if this is pre-recorded. It is not pre-recorded, dude. We are live.
What would be the point of a pre-recorded live broadcast?
People do it, man. You can pre-record it and run it live.
Did you guys hear about the dude in Ireland who did that shit? He faked a live broadcast that was pre-recorded so he could kill this girl he was stalking.
What?
Oh, that's a great idea. Not to kill a girl, but if really kill somebody.
But for an alibi, yeah.
Yeah. So that was his alibi. Oh, yeah. Man.
He got away with it for a little while, but you know.
He didn't even have to wear diapers and drive across the country. You guys remember that one? Where the astronaut,
I don't know this one.
Okay, the astronaut's boyfriend. She was like a married dude or something like that. And then so she wore diapers and drove from Florida to Texas to murder a girl and drove back. And she made it back in time for work the next day so that it wasn't conceivable because of the bathroom breaks. So the way that she made it conceivable is she wore diapers so that she could keep peeing on the trip and not have to stop.
That's pretty ingenious. Well, now with cell phones, man, they can track you everywhere.
Well, I think that the reason why they busted her is she bought a bunch of diapers and she didn't have any kids.
Oh.
So they're like, why did you need these?
Rookie mistake. You got to buy the adult diapers and nobody's asking questions.
Wow. I don't know what brand she's an astronaut. I mean, she can fly a spaceship. She can reverse engineer, I guess, diapers.
Reverse engineered diapers.
The elastic bands on, pull-ups might be enough if she was a size 0.
Todd, I had to hurt somebody's feelings at the gym last night.
What did you do?
I was not nice. Colin can fill you in.
It was mean to a child, not a child, but a young man who he didn't notice the wolves circling around the
The pec deck machine.
The pec deck machine. And he was sitting there with his legs crossed, just casually sitting on it, scrolling through TikTok. And we've been waiting all goddamn day to get our workout started, and we just got there. And there's 2 pec decks, and they're both in use. And this kid's just not making good use of it, you know. So we're standing what I feel is like close enough to where if you were at all aware of your surroundings, you'd be like, okay, these guys are kind of like close to my personal space. I bet they want to use this machine, but no awareness whatsoever. And 5 minutes pass, like maybe almost 10 minutes pass, and we both start talking to the kid at the same time. But Paul gets in, you know, just a split second before me. I was going to be a little nicer to him, but Paul, he just says like, "Hey," he's like, "Are we working here or what? Are we working here or we're just jerking off?"
He got moving then, didn't he?
Headlights. He's like, "Oh shit."
I always say, can I use your chair as workout equipment?
You have some of the best one-liners. My favorite part about your one-liners is that you don't even remember that you said them.
No.
We quote you
and I'm
frequently.
like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. And then like a year later, you'd be like, I don't remember saying that shit.
like calling Tren anabolic ayahuasca.
Yeah, the anabolic ayahuasca.
I remember I was like
one of my all-time favorites.
I was going through my marriage trouble, and I remember you called me up on the phone. I'm like, dude, I like to support me, and I think, dude, I think Tren is making me get divorced, and you're like, no, it made you see things clearly. It's the anabolic ayahuasca.
I don't remember saying that.
I'm like, this is the best life advice ever.
Give Dr. Phil a run for his money.
Do you know what's funny is people don't realize that's what their consults are going to turn into.
Oh yeah,
they're like, oh,
just therapy
dude,
sessions.
My dick isn't working. It's like, do you watch porn? Yeah. Does it work
then?
Porn? Yeah. Then your wife sucks. You know, like and they're like, really? It's like, yeah, let's talk about that. Enough about your dick. Let's talk about your wife.
It's like your digestion talk. You know, if we're talking about digestion, you're like, are you pooping like a dog?
Poop like a dog.
Poop like a dog.
Dog, you say the same thing every day.
It's like, does the
never
dog
has
have
trouble shitting? Doesn't have to wipe.
Doesn't have to wipe.
Brilliant.
Oh man, Tom wanted to know if we're wearing diapers for this live stream.
No, I've got my shaker cup right here. I'm gonna Guy Cisternino.
Oh God, is that one of those?
Did I ever tell you about that story? Okay,
so
we had Guy Cisternino on the podcast for like 3 hours, right? And we actually, when we hung up, we kept talking. We talked about all the shit you can't say online, which back then was a lot more you could get away with saying. And he was like, whoops. And we're like, what? And he's like, this is the wrong shaker cup. And we're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, for 3 hours we've been sitting here and I've been peeing into these shaker cups, but I've been drinking out of this shaker cup. Well, I drank out of the wrong shaker cup. I'm like, how the fuck do we not have that on film?
Oh my God, that's horrifying. That's hilarious.
Guy seems like a funny dude.
Oh, he's a lot more fun when the cameras are off.
I love that video.
So much better. He's like Lee Priest when the cameras are off.
I love him. That video of him. I think he was in prep. It was like last year or something, and he goes unhinged on like guy that's like there's guys that are horsing around and laughing next to him on the leg press. I didn't go off that much, but that one was pretty crazy.
Well, the hack squat, yeah. So
yeah.
He didn't tell the whole story was they're closer, and then he was about to do his work set, and it was bugging him, and he's like, "Can you guys move?" And they're like, "It's a free gym." And he's like,
"That's not the right answer."
And then
wrong answer, motherfucker.
So they moved like an inch, and then they started taunting him. So then the cameras came on, and then he gets up off the half squat and starts yelling at him.
Yeah.
And then it made it on like TMZ and shit. Like,
oh yeah, it was all over the internet.
Rage, you know, it's just like
power of perspective right there. Some bullshit.
So what do you call that? Starm stupidity? Like, if you're gonna say that he's roid raging, then the tweenie boppers are gonna be on SARM stupidity that are like horse playing in the gym. It's like, why don't you guys just go have gay
That
sex
could be all natural idiocy,
rather than like patting each other and jumping up and down in the gym? I don't understand that. Like, you get that with like, you'll have 5 teenage boys seated around one cable doing tricep extensions, taking turns, and I'm like, this is going to take like fucking 25 minutes for you to do 3 sets. There's no way you could have a pump. What the fuck are you doing? Like, and it's like they need moral support. Like, how much moral support do you need to fucking do tricep extensions? Why can't you just fan out and do different tricep exercises or pair up so that it's an effective workout?
This was a teenage boy that I let have it last night. I was calm. I was firm but calm, I think. I taught some people need to be taught lessons. I taught a lesson last night.
You were blunt.
You were the one I say too is I'll walk up and be like, "Can I work in with you?" And there'll be like 2 sets left. I'm like, "Okay, can I work in with you?"
That's not what I asked.
And it's like, "Oh, sure, absolutely." And then it's like, because I don't even ask him how many sets they have left, because that implies I'm willing to wait. It's like, I don't care about your personal space. You're worried about COVID, go home and crawl in your bubble, bitch.
This isn't your machine. This is our machine. Okay.
I have said that too. Is just like, this isn't yours. It's not yours either. I'm like, it's everyone's.
That's right.
You didn't pay for it. He's like, I pay a membership here. I'm like, you would pay a membership to use the equipment. You don't own the equipment. Right. So when you're done with your set, get the fuck off and then let someone else use it.
I love our gym owner, man. He doesn't get. He has 2 rules. You know the rules, Colin.
2 rules. What is it? Don't be a dick.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an
it's
asshole.
Hanging up on the wall.
Don't be an asshole is rule number 1. Rule number 2: rack your weights. Those are the 2 rules.
Well, I can't go there. I struggle
Todd
with.
doesn't rack his weights, everybody.
Well, I mean, I don't know what's defined as asshole. I need clear boundaries. I don't operate with amorphous rules.
I don't think you're an asshole, Todd. I think you may be asshole adjacent at times, but I don't think you're an asshole.
I have my breaking point. I'm usually pretty calm, but then it's like I hit my tipping point and I'm like, nah, this doesn't fly. It also depends on what phase of dieting I'm into. Like my temper is definitely shorter when I'm on contest prep.
Well, that's an interesting question. Is it the diet? Or is it the trend? I always think that it's usually the diet.
Yeah, it's the
Although
diet.
It seems that there's no fuse when trend's involved. That there's some type of inhibition switch that isn't there, and you are almost out of body watching yourself do something aggressive before you realize you're going to do it.
I ordinarily have an extremely long fuse, and I have noticed that is definitely shortens, especially when driving under trend.
Trend just makes me see things very black and white. I just kind of remove emotion from decision making. It's like it's just very black and white, almost sociopathic. I don't know how to describe it.
I always tell people it's like being a great white shark. So like there was this time I was stopped at a red light, and the light turns green. The car doesn't go in front of me. I'm honking at them, and then they like passively aggressively don't go. So I get out of my car with a battle axe, that one right there, and I get out of my car, and then I reach inside the car and I pull out an axe and I throw it over my shoulder and I close the door. They took off, even though it was a red light. And they just ran the red light at that point, and then I just put the axe back in the car, got back in the car, and then pulled up to the red light and waited for. Now I'm first in line, and I can go when it turns green.
I've never done anything like that. I just get divorced and fire people.
I have fantasies of like somebody will pull like they'll like cut me off on my way to the gym or something. I'm like I'm driving like fucking Cruella de Vil like after the puppies, like somebody cuts me off, and I have like immediate fantasy of like following them to wherever their destination is, not to end them or anything, but just to just to like give them a stern talk to explain to them why they did what they did was wrong and why, like it's just absolutely absurd. But I don't obviously don't follow up on it. It doesn't make you into an insane person. It's just
it always starts with a stern talking to and always ends with a tarp and a shovel.
Well, I wasn't a Boy Scout, but I do like to be prepared just in case.
All right, guys. Now that we've put all that out there, should we take a couple questions?
Yeah, we
remember, kids, use cash when you buy chicken wire.
Let's see here. Omar was wondering how he should deal with high lipids. Should he use medicine?
Well, are you a doctor? It's like you shouldn't be prescribing yourself anything, really.
Usually not best to just jump to medication to solve problems. If
I guess it depends on how high they are and what's off. And I mean, I don't know. You look at a lot of blood work, Todd. And I do too. But it seems like pretty much everybody that's on PEDs has low HDL, and their LDL is a little elevated.
I've never had high LDLs, and if I'm not using orals, my HDLs are pretty good. When it comes to other people, you're right. I see pretty high LDLs, but I assume a lot of them just have bad diets or have worse diets than they think they do.
Yeah, they're probably eating too many saturated fats.
Well, like, I can't believe it's not butter. Right? The reason why it's 0 grams of fat is because the quantity is so low. Legally, it's considered 0. If it's 0.4 grams, it's legally considered 0. So it says 0 calories, but it's probably 4 calories per squirt. And they probably do like 30 squirts. So there's probably all types
how
of
many calories I am per squirt.
It's like, I don't know how many, I don't know what they really do. So that's part of it. As far as I know, there's the statins, which are used to lower LDL. That's going to cause muscle tears. So that's not worth it. So,
yeah, I had like really bad muscle cramps when I was using statins. I've been on ezetimibe for a while, and it seems, although it doesn't seem like it lowers my LDL that much, but I don't have any issues with it though.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on what the good medications are for lipids. Typically, if somebody's on a healthy diet, even if their lipids are elevated, their arteries are clear. So therefore, the lipids are they're high compared to the normal, but they're normal for them.
Didn't the LDL number, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it used to be 150 and now it's 100, right? I think they changed it like 7 or 8 years ago. They always moved
the goalposts. Like with blood pressure, it used to be 140 over 90 was high blood pressure. Now it's 120 over 80 is high blood pressure. And I think that the reason why they moved the goalposts is because they want to push more medications.
Probably.
It's entirely possible.
That the pharmaceutical companies lobby the individual members of the American College of Cardiology to change the criteria for treatment. And then when they vote on it at some point, the Joint Commission, the JCO, that when they vote on it, then they move the goalpost 5 units. So it'll go from like 140 over 90 to 135 over 85. Then 10 years later, it's 130 over 80, or like shit like that. So what ends up happening is over time, the criteria gets lowered. An enormous amount of the population now falls into this hypertension bracket. And so they're all treated. So they do one voting, let's lower this. Then they do another voting, let's make it mandatory to treat when you hit to this point. Then they do another voting, let's lower it again. Now let's make another voting, let's make it mandatory, so that no one really sees the agenda because it's such a small incremental change. But over 20 years, you've now taken 10% of the population and that you were mandatory treating to 80% of the population that you're mandatory treating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I tell dudes keep the saturated fats. I mean, that makes sense. I tell dudes to keep the saturated fats low, and then go get a calcium CT score done. Like the only time my lipids are normal is at the end of contest prep. weirdly enough. But well, I mean, I guess it's just from all the cardio and not eating. But like in the off season, even when I eat clean, my LDL is always like 120, 130. I just like can't get it lower than that without medicine. But when I go get a calcium CT score done, my calcium CT score is 0.
Mine too. And that's the point is, so they would be like, well, the calcium CT score doesn't pick up all plaque, just calcified plaque. I'm like, right, but if it's old plaque, it's calcified. If it's new plaque, it's not calcified. If I had perfect lipids in August and it's December, how much plaque could I possibly have accumulated? And if this was residual, then from the previous time I had elevated LDL, then it would be calcified by now. So if there is invisible plaque that's being accumulated, it's being washed out the next time you diet. Which is another reason why I'm not a fan of people taking years off to get bigger, is because it doesn't really allow for the cycle. There's no healthy phase. There's just the bulk phase for a period of 12 months, 15 months, 18 months.
I know you and I have talked about it before, but outside of liver enzymes on contest prep, my blood work looks the best out of the whole year. Like people would assume that that's when you're going to be trashed. That's when I'm at the best.
That's because your diet's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're essentially cleaning your body out.
That was the point I was going to make to Omar, is start with your diet, man. And then if you still can't get those numbers under control, then go talk to a doctor about getting some medicine, maybe.
I have a lot of people, I think from what I've talked, people in the bodybuilding space, a lot of people are using ezetimibe now. That seems to be the common, and ezetimibe, if I recall correctly, works through the digestive tract. It doesn't work through the liver. It inhibits the absorption of fats through the digest. I don't recall the specific mechanisms, but it's something like that.
But if that is how it works, then we're talking about like basically Olestra, what they put on those potato chips, where you just shit your brains out with oily or
I remember those chips.
Diarrhea. It's like, why would you want to eat it if you're just going to shit it out? The point of eating it is
the whole nation experimented with those chips when they came out. We all had a diarrhea dalliance with those chips.
I stood on the side of the line and I waited to see what happened when it was in line, and I was like, I'm not going there. Fuck that.
The branding on them, like the name of them, like not, instead of Cheez-Its, they were WOW, WOW, like W period, like an acronym. Like you found out, a few hours later why they were called WOW. Like, wow, I shit my fucking pants.
Yeah, okay, so here's the, I just looked it up. The ezetimibe is a selective inhibitor of cholesterol absorption that has been shown to reduce the overall delivery of cholesterol to the liver, thereby promoting the synthesis of LDL receptors with subsequent reduction of serum LDL-C.
I looked it up too. So, yeah. That just sounds like you're just going to shit it all out. So it's like, why not just not eat it in the first place and save money on pills?
Well, I mean, that would be the
money on toilet paper. All right. We got one here from Sean Turner. Should I add carb cycling in the beginning of a fat loss phase?
What do you think, Todd? I mean, I usually have people run carb cycling on fat loss, but...
Well, he says the beginning. So not everyone does carb cycling, but that doesn't mean, but they might be no carb cycling, but have a cheat day or 2 cheat days, which is a diet break. So ipso facto, that kind of is a carb cycling. So, I mean, some people believe that you don't get any type of respite. So I think Mike Israetel's that school of thought where you do 2, 3, 4 weeks of hard diet and then do a 1 or 2 week, diet break. Then
which is an interesting approach.
This down, and he did some research on it, and what he found was that the studies showed that your thyroid will stay functional if you do a 2-day diet break, but not a 1-day diet break. So he basically reinvented the wheel that Dan Duchesne came up with in 1981, the magnum opus diet, which was 5 days of keto using MCT oil before the term keto existed. And then on the 6th and 7th day to do high carb days to reload glycogen. Then you go back to using MCT oil to induce ketosis, like not induce ketosis, but provide energy while you await ketosis.
Do you find the energy provided by MCT oil in that state is equal to the energy you get from having a decent amount of rice pre-workout?
I never noticed. Well, I guess the biggest thing I noticed is the GI distress. To use that much MCT oil, I would be extreme.
I noticed that too.
You mean shit your pants?
Yes.
Yeah, why does it always come back to shitting your pants on this podcast? All right.
I think that's the. And so,
see if we had diapers.
What Lyle McDonald postulated was if you were to have a high carb day every 3 days or every 4 days, that should be sufficient, rather than 2 on, 5 off, right? Which is identical to the way I used to do it with the thyroid, that the thyroid is supposed to respond to a decrease in thyroid output after 100 hours of carbohydrate restriction. So I used to do a high carb day every 3rd or 4th day, and which is also, it turns out, what Jay Cutler used to do. So one mode or another every mode is going to have some type of elevation of carbs. It's just how big is what is the frequency and what is the amplitude of the carb cycle? Are you going to be having one high week every 4 weeks? Are you going to have 2 high days every 7 days? Are you going to have 1 high day every 3 days? Or the way Justin would do it in the off season is we'd be 1 high day, 1 low day, 1 high day, 1 low day, so that it'd be 3 high days per 7 days, or 14 high days per 28 days. Yeah, so it's really about the frequency of will there be carb cycling? Absolutely. It's just which carb cycling protocol. Is it a high frequency or low frequency carb cycle?
Do you think that one is more beneficial than the other in the beginning of a fat loss phase, frequency wise?
I don't think you really need to have a high frequency one. I think you could probably run it into the ground and then reset your thyroid with maybe do 2 weeks or 3 weeks of low phase to really kick yourself off. And then once you hit the wall and you're a mess and you're flattened out, then do a 1 week of a diet break. And then when you come out of the 1 week of the diet break, maybe do 5 low days and then 2 high days.
I think that's a really good approach.
And then approach that for about a month. And if you don't need more diet breaks than you do, then you don't. But if you do, then you might want to, after the second diet break, switch to a 3 on, 1 off. Makes sense. Also depends on what your low body parts are. So for example, if my weak body parts, or my priority body parts, I should say, let's be more politically correct, are arms and legs, and I'm going to do day 1, biceps, triceps, and middle delts, day 2, lower body, and then day 4 and day 5 is push and pull, then I would be doing 2 high days, the arm day and the leg day. Now, if on the other hand, somebody's weak body parts were back and legs, those are always going to be apart. So then doing the 3 on, 1 off might make sense.
Makes sense. You can reference this this part of the broadcast, Sean, because the answer to your question is definitely in there.
I found too, like after a while, like the wheels start to fall off too with the diet. Like some people, like, it seems like 15, 16 weeks is about as far as you can push it before people just stop responding. And then you definitely need a diet break then.
I used to do 8 weeks. I used to do 4 weeks half-ass, 4 weeks ball to the wall. Then I would do 4 weeks of a diet break. Then I would do 4 weeks half-ass, and then 4 weeks ball to the wall. Then it was 1 week of a diet break. That was like peak week.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, if I get somebody severely obese, I mean, that's like, it seems like I have to break the diet up into multiple phases. Like, you can't get all the weight off at once unless I've had people come to me. I had a guy come to me recently, had been like in severe caloric deficit for almost 2 years. And we've been working on rebuilding his metabolism. I keep putting food back in. He's not gaining weight, which is good. But I'm just like, man, he was eating nothing. Like, he just wasn't losing weight anymore. I don't know how you can stay in a deficit that long.
Yeah, a lot of people say 12 weeks is the limit.
Yeah.
8 weeks grow, and then 12 weeks diet. Like, I guess the myostatin kicks in after 8 weeks of a grow, and then it's time for a mini cut or a holding phase. And then with diets, is after 12 weeks, your body's not going to let go of anything, so you need a diet break.
All right, Colin, what do you have up next?
Let's see, we got Sean Spooks here. My doctor had me on 2.5 milligrams Letrozole daily for 2 years, 16 to 18 for height growth. I had so many side effects and I was miserable. Do you know of any possible long-term consequences from the procedure? I just figured since we had Todd in the room.
Well, so this is such a clever approach. I've never seen anyone ever make this intuitive leap before. So if estrogen is what closes the growth plates, people think if you lift weights, you're going to be shorter, which isn't true directly, but it is indirectly. If you lift weights, your testosterone will be increased. Teenage boys have a high conversion of testosterone to estrogen. That's why guys will have gyno in high school. Ipso facto, if you have gyno, you're probably closing your growth plates. So one way to promote being taller is before the growth plates are fused. So it definitely wouldn't be in the 16 to 18 age range. You'd have to start it before that. Like maybe 12, 13, 14, you'd want to inhibit the production of estrogen. Now, that'll suck from supposedly it'll lead to blood clots. It'll go to low bone mass. It could cause depression. It could have sexual side effects. The thing is, you hear that, you're going to then have the nocebo effect. So he probably didn't counsel Sam about the potential side effects, because telling him he's going to have those side effects is going to create those side effects. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't have them if you're not told, however. So miserable is the right way to express it. Anyone who's used an AI knows that you're miserable when you're on the AI. A lot of people think that prep makes you miserable. It's the AIs that make you miserable. It's too much trend, too little sleep in AI is that triad of misery and calorie restriction. You're hungry, you're tired, you can't sleep, you're irritable, you have a short fuse, and everything's worse when you're on AIs. So long-term consequences, I guess theoretically you could have cardiovascular damage, which is inconceivable at your age. And you would have had thinner bones or osteomalacia. But I think that not thinner, less dense bones. But you're going to lay down that bone density the rest of your life. It's not like females that supposedly, if females don't put down bone density by 30, they're not going to. I don't know if there's any science behind that or if it's just epidemiologic data.
I don't know. I've seen too many strong grandmas on Instagram and TikTok to believe that shit.
Yeah,
they start lifting at like fucking 70 and they're like deadlifting 225, like 3 years later. Like, I don't know. I think you can always turn it around with changing your diet and your
and of course these are the same people that's saying that women must drink milk in order to get bone density, like as if there's something special about milk other than calcium.
Yeah.
And it's just idiotic, because then they wonder why breast cancer is up. And it's like, because they're drinking estrogen hormone laced milk. So the point is, I think that what he did was in your best interest, and he did something off label with breast cancer meds that was very clever. I think the dosage was insane. Like, that's a really high dose,
heavy dose
of Letrozole to accomplish that goal. 25 milligrams of exemestane, I think Aromacin is the street name, would have been a more moderate approach, because you would have still had some estrogen. You just wouldn't have had as much estrogen. But, I wish I had known about this or had a competent doctor or one that gave a shit when I was younger, because that would have been a much more intelligent approach than using growth hormone, just inhibiting estrogen conversion.
It's funny. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I ran 2.5 milligrams of Letro at the end of the last couple of weeks of my first contest prep, Todd. And when I got my blood panels done, my estradiol was unreadable. And they couldn't even measure it.
It's supposed to be 99% suppression, basically. At least it's competitive inhibition, whereas esomestane is a suicide inhibitor.
Yeah,
it kills off half the enzymes in your body. This just binds to the receptor and then inhibits the testosterone from binding. But, so would Primo or Masteron. So those work as competitive inhibitors as well.
Yep. All right, Colin, what we got next here, man?
Well, I want to know from Sean, did you get tall, man? How tall are you? You can't leave us hanging. Get back to us on that.
I'm going to estimate in order for him to have had such a radical approach, his estimated planned height would have been 5'2".
Okay.
Or 5'3", and he probably came out of this at 5'5" or 5'6".
I had growth hormone treatment when I was a kid to grow, because I wasn't growing for a couple of years, and my folks took me to the doctor, and they're like, "Yeah, he's not producing like growth hormone at all." So I took it for a few years, and now I'm 6 foot. But I was 4'2" for like 2 years. Wasn't growing. Like my parents were tall as fuck, my brother was tall as fuck, and I was just like stuck.
But Sean said he was 5'7", and then he made it up to 5'10".
And now I can't. Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I got 3 inches out of it.
Yeah, it's legit. Hope it was worth it. Anyway, we got Raul.
It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
Superdrawal and Anadrol as a pre-workout. What y'all think?
I don't see why you would stack them, since Superdrawal is just an improvement on Anadrol. So what makes the Anadrol special is it inhibits an enzyme that basically clears water from the cell, in the cell and outside the cell. Superdrawal is different from Anadrol, that it only keeps the water in the cell. So whereas Anadrol, you'll get bigger, but you'll look puffy. Superdrawal, you'll look big. Your muscles will look bigger, but you won't be puffy.
Yeah, I look like a goddamn water balloon when I take Anadrol.
So I don't see a point in taking the Anadrol if you're taking Superdrawal. Now, also, the dosages are totally different. Like 20 milligrams of Superdrawal will fuck you up, whereas you could probably safely get away with 50 milligrams of Anadrol. So for some reason, they're not packaged the same. And people don't, like they talk about how Anadrol is great for strength and Anavar isn't. It's like Anadrol's come in 50s, Anavar's come in 5s and 10s. So like you're not comparing them correctly. Are you taking 50 milligrams of Anavar and 50 milligrams of Anadrol? If not, you're not comparing them effectively. Like everyone thinks you need to use 100 to 150 Anadrol. When have you ever heard of someone using 100 or 150 D-ball or 100 and 150 Anavar? That people are very conservative with certain drugs and not with others. Superdrawal is one of those drugs. Like 5-10 milligrams is probably safe, but 20 is gross overkill usually when it comes to your organs. It's supposed to be way more toxic. So I don't really know what the point of stacking those is.
I've seen dudes running Superdrawal, Todd, and have single-digit HDLs. It'll absolutely nuke your HDL. Just something to think about.
But also, again, what's the dose?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's dose dependent too. And I've seen some crazy liver enzymes on Superdrawal too.
All I'm concerned with. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of the only times I've ever seen my blood work fucked up was when I dicked around with Anadrol and Superdrawal. What were you going to say, Colin?
I was just going to say, in terms of an effective pre-workout, all I really give a shit about these days, I used to take like shit that would fucking crack me out, and I would avoid caffeine all day long, so that when I would dose myself pre-workout, I'd be like a fucking madman. And now, like, all I give a shit about is like, is it going to help me get a good pump? So, you know, if you can find something that you can tolerate the taste of and it doesn't give you shits, you know, and it helps you get a good pump, that's your winner as far as I'm concerned.
I know when I worked with you, Ty, we used to do the Anavar pre-workout, and I really liked that. It wasn't like a crazy dose. I think I was just doing 30 milligrams, something like that.
Was it sublingual?
Sublingual, yeah.
That's one of my favorite approaches, as I think it really helps. I do Viagra and Anavar along with
why sublingually?
Because you've got these two big blue veins under your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see them with your eyes.
Yeah, I have seen them.
So the amount of distance that the molecule has to travel to get into your bloodstream is so small that if you were to make your Anavar as a liquid in an alcohol solution, it'll get into the bloodstream super fast.
Nice.
Another thing I used to do is I would brush my teeth first so that it has micro tears all through the gums. And then I would swish the powder around.
That's hardcore, Paul. That's hardcore, Todd. That's smart. Honestly, that's smart. Yeah, get the capillary action going too.
You got all these, because I used to brush my teeth until they bled, and then I would take the Anavar and Viagra.
I just call that brushing my teeth. I don't know. Is that bad?
They say that that's gingivitis. If you
yeah. All right. Let's see here. We got a very important question from Tom McGivern. Are you guys diapered up for a long stream? I'm actually going to use this as a segue. Tom, I am not, and I am dying to take a piss. So I'm going to hop off real quick.
You didn't bring your shaker cup. Your guy's
I know. I got to pull a guy's sister. I couldn't do that to the dragon mug, man. This is from the Ren Fair, dude. This is a nice dry, handmade shit, dude. I can't piss in this. You got to show respect. I'll throw up one here. Miggs is wondering how often he should be doing Trendy. I'll be right back.
Daily.
The general consensus is no one should be doing Trendy.
No,
because
Trendy sucks.
One, it's a 64% tren, and the rest is the ester. Whereas I think with tren acetate, it's like 87% tren or more. So you're losing money right there. So, like, in other words, out of 200 milligrams per milliliter, you're really only getting about 130 milligrams per milliliter of tren. Whereas on 100, you're getting like 90-ish. So you think you're saving money by getting Tren E, but you're saving way less money than you think. You might actually not be saving money, depending on how it's priced. Two, you usually only use Tren when you're cutting. That's all it's for. So you want to have short-acting drugs when you're cutting so that you can pull them and make quick adjustments to dose. If you try to make an adjustment to Tren E, you're not going to see that adjustment actually kick in for 2 to 4 weeks because of the half-life is so long. It takes a long time for those levels to go down. So let's say you start using Tren E in March, you start having side effects like you can't sleep in April. Even if you pulled the Tren E completely out of your system, you may not be able to sleep again until the middle of May. So that's why you want to use short-acting drugs to make quick, rapid adjustments. Since Tren's so toxic and so hard on your psyche and so hard on your sleep, you want to be able to make quick adjustments. Likewise, the inverse, if you wanted to ramp it up and you're like, oh, we're not losing fat fast enough, let's turn up the Tren and turn down the food, you would be losing the calories and getting the catabolism from the decreased food immediately, but you wouldn't get the anti-catabolism or the increased thermogenic effect, the uncoupling at the mitochondria, or the upregulation of the T3 conversion for another 2 to 4 weeks. So none of those changes happen quick with the long-acting ester. So since Tren is so intense, both positive and negative, you want to have a fine-tuning control over it, which would be short esters.
Have you seen there's a website, it's called steroidplotter.com, where you can plug in the I got to show you guys this.
That sounds fun. You plug in what the dose is, and it shows you a graph of what your bloodstream is actually going to have in it.
Yeah, and it shows you. Yeah, it shows you and it shows you the peaks and valleys of everything. It's really fucking cool. Hang on, let me show you this.
Technology doing everything that I used to do for people.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool.
Next, you just got to make ChatGPT into steroidplotter.com, and you have your little coach GPT.
Yeah, check this out. So this is tren and anthate, and you can see here. You can go in and look at it, and it'll tell you what's active in your bloodstream and how it peaks.
Can you read me the legend? How long does it take to hit that steady state?
It looks like you hit it at day 29 on an anthate.
Well, let's go back halfway. What are you hitting at 14? It looks like you're about 80 to 70%.
Let's see, 1437.2.
All right, and this is what, injecting 25 a day, 25 every other day?
This is 100 milligrams every other day. I just threw that in as a number.
100 milligrams every other day, and you hit a steady state concentration of 37 at
39,
day 14,
24,
and then you hit 40 at day
24.
And this is tren and athate 100. So they're counting. So it's really 64. So 64.
We can look at acetate. We can change it.
Boom. See, that proved my point. So let's look at the end of it. Look at the top peak. What day is that? No, the other end. The end, yeah.
68. It's 80.
So it's 88 on day 68. What is it on day 71?
Day 71 would be 7. There's
right.
7. Yeah.
Exactly. So you pull it, and within 3 days, that shit's out of your system. So if you're
you can see
Wednesday, it's out of your system before you step on stage.
Let's lower the dose. You can see, like, at 50 milligrams, you essentially peak out at the same as you would at the 100 on the enanthate.
Yep. So 50 versus 100. Yeah. So you're basically
probably 60 would be closer. Let's see what 60 is. If 60 would be about right.
Yeah.
So you can see 60 milligrams of the
acetate is the same as 100 milligrams of the enathate, and it kicks in faster and it washes out. And this is every other day. Set it to every day injection, because I think it's foolish to do every other day. Let's see what every day is. There you go. Boom. That looks better.
Yeah.
That looks way better.
And isn't this a cool tool?
It's really fucking awesome, because
the visualization is amazing.
I knew this shit, but it proves my point to people who don't visualize the graph in their head based off of the input. And this is only monotherapy. Like, if we actually were to show them the difference between Sustanon and a drug, then they'd understand why doctors prescribe one shot of Sustanon.
Yeah, this is a really cool tool, guys. If you want to check out, it's steroidplotter.com. Cool. Just a very, 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 very cool tool you can use to map out your cycle and see what actually is going on. You can put the different. It allows you to adjust the dose, the substance, the ester. You can change the ester, the shot frequency. It has.
Does it have 2 inputs? Like, can we do 2 drugs?
Yeah, you can add another compound. So if we want to add
let's switch it from trenbolone to testosterone.
You want to add testosterone, or you just want to switch it?
Replace trenbolone with testosterone.
Okay. Let's see, testosterone. What ester?
Let's do enathate.
All right, enanthates. And how frequent do you want to run it?
Daily,
every day.
Every day. Let's go to
week 1 through.
What are we at? 60. 60 is a good
do
dose.
10. 60 milligrams.
And that's it. That's his trenbolone still at the bottom. Did we plot? We got to click plot.
I think I goofed it up when I added the other compound. Hang on, let me refresh it. All right, so let's do 20 weeks. How much do you want to run? 60 milligrams a test?
Yeah, let's do 60 because that's 400.
Testosterone. Let's see. Enanthate every day. Oh. And let's run it through week 1 through 12.
All right. Now, what's that dose get up to? Bloodstream dose.
Peaks out at 45.3.
Huh. Okay. So we're getting a better exchange than we were pretty much off of almost better exchange than we were off of let's switch it to Prope. Let's see what it looks like on Prope. I think it's going to look the same with no tail. It looks worse. There's more of an amplitude change. Yeah, let's go back to, let's try to change it to SIP. Let's see what SIP looks like. I think SIP will look the same as, yep. And then go back to enanthate.
It's pretty similar to enanthate.
Right. I want to see if it's exactly the same or if it's enanthate's the same. All right, cool. Let's add in a new drug. Let's add in primo enanthate.
And then let's do how much you want to add?
Let's do 100.
Or you want to add it to the testosterone or just a different drug?
No, let's add it to the testosterone.
Okay.
100. I hope it's a different color. And I hope that I hope it does blue, yellow, and green or something so we get to see what the total load is, where they take the areas under the curve and add them together.
All right. So you want how many milligrams of
100?
100.
Yeah, that's a nice fun dose.
Interval one. Let's do injectable. We want every day.
Yeah.
Through 12. Let's do this.
All right. What's the max dose on that bitch?
75.
Oh, that's only counting the primo. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not adding them together.
Yeah, you'd have to
So it's 75.
Oh, they're right there. I see. Okay. 45 and 75. So the total load would be 120.
Yep.
All right. Interesting. And so then we've got some tails. And the primo's slope of the tail is slightly different because the total magnitude is different, but the function is the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
The second derivative is the same.
I love that. Like, if you guys thought that a Paul Barnett birthday party was going to be anything other than graphs and data and playing with math, like, welcome everybody.
This guy, this guy.
There's not going to be cake. There's no dancing. We're going to do some more graphs, guys.
Dude, what's even funnier is like a bachelor party would be like Dungeons and Dragons. Red Dragon. It's just like you build up the whole Chronicles, but then on a special event, like we used to do like Halloween specials, like on the Halloween special of Vampire the Masquerade, like you see him gets attacked by the Sabbat. Like we used to do shit like that. So it was actually like an event for our characters on our real life event days because our real life was that boring.
This this dude was telling me in the comments that Steroid Planner is a better one. I've never used this one, but this is pretty neat too. I don't know. I kind of like how this just plots everything out, man.
Well, I like to see it because it helps you prove your point to people when they're like, why do I have to pin every day? And then they're like, okay, do this. And then you take 2 pictures, you do it for them, and you take 2 pictures and you send them the pictures. And they're like, you see that gap, that white space? And it's like the more white you see, the more your body is going to be miserable.
Yeah, so just like if we went with the enanthate, or with the primo, if we did it twice a week, look at that, man.
Yeah, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
Like if you wouldn't want to lay on it, you're not going to want it in your bloodstream.
Let's change the dose. So to 300.
Dr. Todd one-liner.
What if you're not good? What if you don't want to lay on it?
You don't want to lay on it. You don't want it in your bloodstream, y'all. If it's spiky, if the graph is spiky, then it'll be spiky in your bloodstream. That's bad. Okay. All right. I translated for you, Todd. You guys keep going with your graphs. Oh, shit. Can we throw up another question? I mean, I don't want to ruin
go for
party,
it.
Paul.
No.
I didn't realize this is boring for other people. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm here to represent the normal people too. I mean,
Okay.
Sorry, I just thought that was cool. I thought
it's
that
super
was
cool. Super cool.
Oh, that's my
we
buddy
got
Dave.
the fine people over at Blue Collar Bodybuilding.
Oh, cool.
You guys ever have any luck with BP157 and TB500 together? I've been running it for my shoulder and it has helped a ton. As you know, Paul, I've had that issue going for a long time.
So I look at it as an acute trauma procedure. So like the TB500 inhibits the neutrophils from coming into a recent trauma site and basically destroying. I like to look at neutrophils as being like trigger happy cops. And so like if there's trauma, inflammatory responses, like inflammatory response, like IL-6 is basically like a 911 call. Mm-hmm. And then the neutrophils are like cops and they just show up and they shoot everyone. And after they've shot everyone, then basically they know they got the bad guy because they shot everyone. The problem is it might have been a false phone call, that there may never have been a bacteria present. So they just shot the shit out of all these healthy muscle cells. And now all these muscle cells are dead and there was no point to it. So TB500 is kind of like switching it from them using live rounds to using like rubber bullets. Right. And then so if you know for a fact there's no bacteria because it's not an infection, it's just trauma, then the TB500 will protect your living muscle cells, your healthy muscle cells from the trigger happy neutrophils. Then the BP157 basically allows you to put in new vascularization. So joints and connective tissue are poorly vascularized. That's like traffic jams. If you're stuck on the 405 in Los Angeles and you're going at a crawl, if you were to somehow create other streets or maybe you widen that from a 4-lane to an 8-lane, the flow would increase. And so you get where you're going faster. So by allowing those the tendons and ligaments to have more blood vessels, you are allowing nutrients to get to those tissues faster so they repair and grow and heal faster. You've probably heard that people will tear a pack benching because they used Anadrol and they got super strong. So the idea is the muscles get stronger faster than the tendons get stronger. And at some point, the stress load on the tendon exceeds its tensile strength and it rips. Whereas the muscle was able to handle it, the tendon was not. So for a chronic injury, I see little point in the TB500 because the inflammation is probably not immune response mediated, but I see if you've got chronic problems with the tendons, I've heard a lot of anecdotal reports that the BPC157 will help with chronic injuries. Even though it's better for acute injuries, it's supposed to have help with people who have chronic injuries. I personally don't use them for chronic. I only use them for acute. I like to keep both on hand in the fridge or freezer. And then if I get torn at the gym in any way, I ice it while I'm on my way home from the gym. And then I will use a regimen of BPC, TB500, growth hormone, possibly IGF-1 if I have it. And then I will, of course, have anabolics. Because what's the point of increasing the blood flow to the tissue if the blood you are providing lacks the nutrients or medicine that you need in order to grow the tissue?
I've had good results with BPC in the past. I need to get some for my shoulder, Colin. My shoulder's been killing me.
It sucks. Okay, let's see here. This is a question for Todd from Red Skull Training, Alex Rem. Can you take nebivolol? I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Nebivolol, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any of the beta blockers. So if you see the OL suffix and it's a chemical, it's an alcohol group, and alcohol is just an oxygen and hydrogen bind to something. If you see the OL suffix on medicine, then it is a beta blocker. So the beta blockers bind to the beta receptors. Ideally, they're preferential for beta 1. I think this one is not preferential for beta 1. And because it isn't, so it binds to the beta receptors and inhibits their function. So adrenaline, epinephrine, binds to beta 1 and speeds up it does chronotropy and ionotropy, which is the speed of the heart rate and the strength of the heart rate's contractions. So, and then the beta 2 receptors are on the lungs and the fat cells. So this is going to inhibit your ability for the fat to leave the fat cell, the ability for your lungs to absorb oxygen, the ability of your heart to pump blood, and the ability of your heart to beat. So I don't see those. I think all of those are important for exercise. That's why your body releases adrenaline during exercise. So why you would take something to inhibit adrenaline from causing your body to prepare itself for exercise makes little sense to me, that you would do it if you, I guess, like if you want to stay relaxed. Oh, he's saying on the day of a bodybuilding contest to stay relaxed.
Yeah, on the day of the show.
Oh, in that case, yeah, I think that it would make sense to take a beta blocker. But if you guys remember Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, he didn't take a beta blocker before he did sniping. He took diazepam, which was Valium. So I wouldn't use Valium either, because that's going to be too long acting. It's got a 24-hour half-life, and I think it has a metabolite that's got a 100-hour half-life. But Ativan, the Lorazepam, is a better middle-of-the-road drug that's got a 10-hour half-life. So I would think Lorazepam would be a better thing for generalized anxiety disorder or a stress reaction to a traumatic event. If you now, that's something, if you're not excited the day of the bodybuilding show, if you are so stressed out, you're taking anxiety medication or heart medication, maybe it's not the right sport for you. You know, like, why are you doing it if you hate it so much you have to take drugs to run away from your feelings that it induces? Like, I'm excited the day of the show, unless I look like shit, but then I'm anxious I look like shit, and so you shouldn't really be doing the show if you think you look like shit.
I've seen a lot of doctors prescribing, for my clients, prescribing beta blockers for blood pressure and heart rate.
That's terrible for an athlete.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible. Horrible choice.
Should be telmisartan or losartan.
Yeah, and it's not even addressing the pathway at which androgens induce high blood pressure anyway.
It's like they have no idea what they're doing, and they just give everyone the same drug.
Yeah, that's what I tried to explain to one of my clients. His doctor was giving him a beta blocker. I'm like, dude, that's not going to fix your issue.
Right, especially when you're overweight. It's like that drug just makes it harder to lose fat. I mean, it's the worst choice for you.
Yeah, it's a terrible choice.
Yeah.
All right, Colin, what you got next, man?
All righty, let's see here. We got Rock Bailey. I've seen so many different ratios of test and DECA/MPP. What's the best ratio to avoid/prevent gyno?
Not to mix them.
He's not wrong. All right, short and sweet. I'll take it.
Well, let me give some context. So I would say if you're going to get the most out of DECA, you can't really mix and test, because the test and the DECA together tend to create gyno. And some people report DECA-DIC, but DECA-DIC is from the combination of them, not from the monotherapy. That most everyone has switched to test and primo, or if you can't find real primo, test and masteron for this reason.
That's a good answer. I'm sorry.
I've found when I run test and primo that I can add some nandrolone to it and not have issues. But if I just run test and nandrolone, then I have issues.
I wish I was in that same boat. As soon as I add in even 20 milligrams of nandrolone a day, I'll start getting gyno.
I also had the surgery done too. So
I always tell people that too. They're like, I was like, Paul did have both of his glands removed, so he can get away with the DECA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling. Well, I mean, you know, what was the guy's name, Colin, that we had up? Was it?
Sorry, I lost it. Let me get it back.
There's something rock.
Yeah, I mean, if you're serious about bodybuilding, man, and you have issues with gyno, I would get the damn surgery done. It was money well spent, I think, because then I can use nandrolone with testosterone.
I thought about it, but I guess so. Cosmetically, my understanding is if you take all the gyno tissue, all the gland, then the nipples have this deflated, droopy, sad look to them.
Yeah, mine. You'll see it in my pictures, man. I kind of got my nipple kind of looks inverted a little bit. Like people are asking me what's wrong with my nipples.
So it's a cosmetic sport at that point, right?
Yeah.
So if I have, like not like I'm into dudes, but if my chest has the right look, if it's a strong selling point on my body, and then I deface my nipples in some way, then that's not going to help my look, especially because even when I'm contest prepping on Tren, I'll have striations that go through the nipple, but the nipple's still there. So like I'm worried that the cosmetic damage done to the area around the nipple will be worse than the benefits of getting to use DECA over just using Primo or something.
Yeah, the surgeon did tell me that the nipple can collapse if he pulled all the gland out, and I'm like, get it out of there, man. I just don't want to have to fucking do it because I had the surgery done twice.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, and I'm like, just get it all out of there.
Moral of the story, Rock, is protect your nipples. Right. We got interesting one from Austin Simmermaker. Question, hypothetical. If one stumbled upon a combined compound of Test E and Tren Ace, how would one dose this? Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Every day.
Every day.
You got to dose with the frequency of the shortest acting, as per our sawtooth graphs earlier. If you don't want to lay on it, you don't want it in your bloodstream.
There you go. Just follow up. Have you ever heard of these compounds being, mixed together? It seems odd to me.
No, you would never mix. I mean, I'm not saying no one has ever done this, but any, underground preparation I've seen.
Bathtub you getting that out of is what I want to know.
The underground preparations of blends would have like with like. So they'd have long actings with long actings or short actings with short actings. Right. You would never see them mix a long acting with a short acting.
So hypothetically, Austin, I'd be concerned, if you don't have a, good feeling about the provenance of that combined compound you may have stumbled upon hypothetically.
I have seen one out there.
They call
it cut mix or some shit like that. I think it's a blend of Test, Masteron, and Tren or something. I don't remember what it was.
It's the normal cut, but it's aces. It's going to be Test Probe, Masteron Probe, and Tren Ace.
Chase Irons, I don't know if you watch his podcast, but he said, I found that having my tits cut out helps a lot. Words of wisdom from Chase Irons. What's up, Chase?
What's up, Chase? All right.
What do we got next?
Let's see here. We got Ty Gergich. Ty G. Thoughts on pinning with insulin needles, shallow intramuscular versus deep intramuscular for big cycles?
I've
been using insulin needles to pin.
Yeah, for years now.
Yeah,
every day with insulin needle.
I use the 5/8. I think they're 27 gauge 5/8 inch, and I backload them.
Probably 29. Are you sure you found 27?
Pretty sure that I'll tell you right now. I'll look at them. Pretty sure that they're. I get these ones that they actually have the needle. You can pull the needle off of them, but they're.
Oh, then that makes sense. Okay, yeah. All right.
You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, because the ones that are pre-made are 29, 30, and 31. And I've seen 27-inch needles, but those are for hypodermic needles, not for insulin needles. So you found an insulin syringe that'll match it with a hypodermic needle.
They're smaller. I'm finding them right now. I'll show you these ones that I get, and these things are continue to our new web store.
Because people whine about how long it takes. I'm like, you're doing like 0.2 of a milliliter. It's like it takes me 10 minutes to draw this up. I'm like, bitch, it takes me an hour to draw up I just sit down and watch my television shows and draw up for fucking an hour, and then I gotta heat them because the Primo is so painful, and that takes an hour. It's like it's a 2-hour process every night.
Yeah, they're 27. So I will these. Hang on, let me show. Hopefully YouTube doesn't ban me for showing these.
I wouldn't do it. Just don't even do it.
Yeah, they're the Nipros. They're 1cc, and they have a removable needle off of them, and they're 27 gauge 1/2-inch needles. I get those, or you can get the 5/8 too. I usually get the 5/8, and then you can pop the needle off, and then I backfill them with a regular needle, so I don't have to sit around. If you're impatient, you don't want to pull the stuff out.
You're way more high tech than me.
I mean, these are the ones I use.
Quinn and draw my needles, and then I throw them in I fill my sink up with hot water and just throw them in.
I'm the same dude who wears Birkenstocks because he doesn't feel like tying his shoelaces. I'm like fucking medieval with my preparation. I was just like, he's like the big needle and just like, this is gonna hurt.
I noticed with these too, like I don't get all the scar tissue build up and stuff. Like
I gotta move it around a lot to avoid that.
Where when you're injecting it, it feels like you're pushing it through leather.
Like
you can hear shit cracking and stuff.
Crunching and popping.
Yeah.
Oh shit. All right.
Gotta look at on stage. Some glued down muscles that don't contract anymore.
Let's do like one or two more, and then we got to wrap this up.
Sure. Okay.
The people are hanging out. I mean, it's whatever.
I'm happy.
It's your birthday.
When Joe Rogan does 3 hours, just saying.
Yeah,
he must wear a diaper
with no dead air. Yeah, that's a good question, man. They got to edit that out, I guess.
No, they get up to pee all the time. The guests usually go, "Can I pee?" And it's like, "Yeah."
No, you're not allowed to pee. Have you outfitted with a catheter?
They use the W word. Shades use the word woke. That's like garlic or holy water. It's even purple. Purple square with woke next to it. I'm like twitching out.
I like this question because this applies to so many people. Woke up with terrible indigestion and some heartburn. Anyone know any quick solutions for this?
Right here, baby. Blend your shit.
Chicken shake.
Blend your shit. Yeah.
Blend your shit.
We call that the nuclear option. Jesus Christ. But I mean, you said
like Letrozole.
Yeah, like Letrozole, exactly.
Dude, I've done a lot of shit for the sake of bodybuilding. I've done a lot of shit for the sake of bodybuilding, but drinking chicken is not one of them. I draw the line there, man.
Dude, it's amazing. I have one solid food meal. I have such bad heartburn. It reminds me as disgusting as the chicken shake is. It's like cotton and wood chips. And then slime. It's like so gross. I'll gag while I'm drinking it. But
man, why do you do that to yourself? Oh,
it's just like, I grew up in a time period where bodybuilding was about he who suffers wins. And it's like the more awful your life gets, the better you're going to do on stage.
There is some truth to that.
Yeah, I can't deny that.
Sleeping on the floor. What do you call it? No human contact at all. Like self-imposed solitary confinement. The only form of pleasure you get is foam rolling. Like,
what did Dorian Yates say that in his apartment in what is it, Birmingham? I think is where he's from. That he said he just had a mattress and that was it. A mattress, a card table, and a chair.
So I have a mattress. I don't have a box spring or any. I just have a mattress on the floor.
Yeah, he was Mr. Olympia and he was sleeping on a mattress.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, because
he was something else.
Yeah,
and he would walk to the gym. He would walk in the snow and everything. Didn't matter.
Like when Kai Green would have that 120-degree apartment when he wears sweats in it, just so he'd be more miserable.
Yeah, and he was like cooking his food on that hot plate thing.
Yeah, cooking fish no less. Can you imagine the smell of that apartment given those conditions? Jesus Christ,
man.
And he would do cardio. Like, oh my god, he must have smelled so bad.
The fucking rank.
Oh man,
Kai Gangrene. All right.
Man,
Shades, let's answer this dude's question. You said it in your statement here. You woke up with terrible indigestion. Something's not getting digested, homie. Like, what are you eating? Like you got to go back to fucking square one and start introducing foods that your body can fucking handle. Slowly, and until you hit something that triggers you, and then you be like, okay, well, got to limit that, or I can't eat that, and then build your diet accordingly.
Yeah, check out a low FODMAP diet.
Mhm.
There's a list of foods that actually are you can find it online. Low FODMAP, the stuff that doesn't cause distress. Start with that. Like when I build diets out for people, I put all it's all low FODMAP stuff. I don't know if you follow the FODMAP system or not, Todd, but it's helped me a lot.
Then I got no nightshades, no tomatoes, no onions, no garlic. Basically every type of seasoning you'd put on your food anyway. Which is why I'm like, if I'm not going to season this shit, I might as well just throw it in a fucking blender.
I like to say, like a good rule of thumb to follow if you're suffering from heartburn and you're trying to figure it out is like, if it brings you joy, like don't eat it. Don't put it on your food. Don't put it in your mouth. Like, joyless foods only.
I literally eat 4 things: beef, chicken, rice, cream of rice, and I put salt on them. That's it.
You forgot the tears of liberals.
The tears of liberals.
You can wash it down with a nice tumbler full of the tears of liberals.
I use olive oil for that. I forgot the 5th thing.
Yeah, no feelings.
Is that the secret ingredient in your blended chicken shake? All right.
I did before we move on from that one. Just one. I have found that omeprazole helps me with acid reflux. I get really bad. I don't know how you feel about it.
Oh, that's terrible because the omeprazole stops the acid from being produced in your stomach, so the acid doesn't digest the protein, so you don't actually absorb as much protein from omeprazole.
Another issue too to consider, and I found out just recently. They told me for years I had acid reflux, and my doctor's like, "No, you have a hiatal hernia,
which causes acid reflux."
Yeah, and he said that it's really common with people with weightlifters. He said like guys holding their breath when they do squats and deadlifts and shit, they pop that ligament or whatever that attaches the stomach to the diaphragm. So just another thing to consider.
Your stomach is literally in your chest. Yeah. So one thing I found that helps with that is, wait for it,
the chicken shake.
Is that because there's less internal pressure, it just makes it easier. It's like, rather than gastric bypass, rather than Roux-en-Y procedure.
So chicken shake is the answer to everything. Right?
Everything. It's just it's cheating. It's just so much. Your life's just so much better, except for the removal of one of the huge categories of pleasure that a human can actually experience, which is oral fixation and satisfaction.
Other than gagging and wanting to throw up while you drink it,
Well, I mean, somebody could be. I mean, shit, man. If I wasn't using as much solute per solvent ratio, then it would be way easier to get this stuff down.
Whoa, slow down there, Gordon Ramsay.
So
tell me more about the solvent to solute ratio of your culinary creation there. Jesus.
So this is a 45-ounce shaker. This is a 20-ounce shaker.
It's a kitchen nightmare in a fucking blender cup.
Whoa. Yeah, it's like,
oh my lord.
Oh Lord. I'm sorry, man. I
draw stuff at the bottom that actually doesn't come free. That is what makes me gag. So if you over make it, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this one 800 calories. I'm supposed to absorb 700 of it, and you drink 7/8 of it, and then you throw out the shit at the bottom, you won't gag.
Oh. Chase Irons makes a good point, and lay off the trend. That might help with the acid reflux too. I totally forgot about that. Trend, and then orals. Orals fuck my stomach up, man. Anytime I run orals, man, with the exception of Anavar, they ruin my stomach.
Karina came up with a system around this. I think so. It's DAO, diamine oxidase, is basically. It's supposed to be the tren and other anabolics stop a certain antihistamine that's being naturally produced in your body. And so DAO will allow that antihistamine to continue to be produced, or it separately blocks the histamine. Then by adding in TUDCA, it can increase the flow of the bile salts. And then I think choline inositol participates in this. So the idea is that the orals will inhibit the liver's ability to make the biles and the digestive enzymes necessary for the digestion of food. and or it decreases the flow. So, for example, the way that the orals can be detected as damaging the liver is an elevated alk phos. And that's because the bile acids can't flow out of the liver, and so they start eating the liver itself. And that evidence that your liver's eating itself is the elevated alkaline phosphatase. So to mitigate this, TUDCA, choline, DAO, along with possible antihistamine like Allegra or one of the other brands, all can counteract the histamine-inducing effect of the high-protein diet and the anabolics that work in conjunction to do this. Since histamine is the agent that acts on the stomach to induce acid reflux, to acid production, I believe it is the H3 receptor. So H1 is itchiness, H2 is being tired, H3 is acid production. There's also gastrin receptors on the stomach, and gastrin is made by the gamma cells of the pancreas, which would also be digested by these acids from the liver that aren't moving fast enough, which would also damage the beta cells, which is the ability to make insulin. So all of this done in concert using a DAO, an antihistamine, choline, and TUDCA will allow you to digest more food and suffer less side effects from orals.
Since I've used TUDCA, man, TUDCA and NAC and choline, that combination, my liver enzymes are whoop.
Yep, NAC was also on her list of things. Yeah.
I've wondered about the histamine response thing too, because I've heard a lot of people report getting stuffy noses. I get stuffy noses when I'm on cycle, man. I don't know what it's got to be a histamine response, right?
Right. And then for the last 14 years, I've had a stuffy nose, and I've been able to breathe clearly since she put me on this protocol of all these different supplements for digestive health. Yeah. And which allows my CPAP to actually work, which makes my blood pressure go down and allows me to recover better. So rather than sleeping poorly for 12 hours a day, I can sleep very good for about 8 hours, 9 hours.
Yeah, I've had chronic issues with stuffy nose while I'm on cycle, and it goes away when I come down on cruise. So it's clearly something going on.
That's the histamine building up because of the enzyme that's inhibited, and the DAO is the solution. So DAO, I get it from Amazon. It is $60 a month. The TUDCA I get from Amazon. That is $40 a month. NAC is no longer over the counter. Somehow medicine that was over the counter is no longer available. You kind of have to find a hookup for NAC.
I think you can still get it.
Oh, maybe you can. I can't find it. I get it through my mom.
And then they have it on Amazon. There was that case that was the FDA had going on, the supplement industry. Their lobby got together and countersued and got an injunction. So they can sell it again now.
Okay, good. Because I knew what it was. Is it's such an important thing for people to have that the medicine is called Mucomist. And it's like on every patient on Mucomist. So if people could get it over the counter, then they wouldn't get as sick and they wouldn't need the hospitals. So I figured that's why the medical community, the pharmaceutical companies lobbied the FDA to ban NAC as a supplement so that you had to get it from them, the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, I'll have to see if that case was ever settled, but it was pulled off. Yeah, I just looked. It's back on Amazon.
Okay,
it was
good.
pulled.
Thank God. I'm almost out.
It was pulled for a while, and then they countersued and got an injunction.
Yeah, people don't realize the FDA is a weapon the pharmaceutical company uses.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, they do.
People, it's not to protect you. It originally started that way, but that's not the way it is now.
What was the thing that you said that was $60 a month that you're using?
DAO. Let me go with the exact brand. Hold on.
Yeah, that's histamine neutral. Okay. Holy shit, it's expensive, man. $50-$60 a month. Histamine digest. Yeah, well, I mean, that explains this. Do you get the stuffy nose, Colin, or no?
Mm-mm. No, I only get a stuffy nose when I dose Cialis sometimes for a better pump at the gym. Sometimes a better dick pump.
I switched from Cialis to Viagra because of the stuffy nose.
Oh, really?
I don't get it with Viagra.
But I prefer Cialis for the pump in the gym.
$55
Histamine digest. What I found was that the Cialis gives me an all-day pump. It also gives me a very painful lower back pump. It also gives me a headache and a stuffy nose. And so let's put this in perspective, okay? Let's look at the real-world application. So let's say you're a guy and you've got an evening rendezvous with a lady, and you want to make sure you perform well, because if you're worried that you're going to perform well, you won't. So just for the anxiety's sake of it, you take something. If you take Cialis and you have a stuffy nose, you're breathing through your mouth and blowing snot bubbles in her ear while you're on top. Versus if you take Viagra, you can breathe normally and have normal cardiovascular endurance. Let's take that to the gym. How good can you possibly be on a set that you can't breathe? So like I've often had to abort a set because I was so stuffed up, I couldn't finish the set. And I had to turn what would normally be a normal set into a rest pause set because I have to stop, clear my throat, blow my nose, and then start the set again. Rather than if I just used Viagra, got slightly less of a pump, but was able to complete the set. And I'm also comparing 3 milligrams of Cialis to 50 milligrams of Viagra. That's how profound the stuffy nose effect is for me in the Cialis.
That sucks. I don't have nearly as bad that side effect personally, so it's my go-to. But yeah, if it affected me like that, I definitely think twice.
I can't use Cialis, man. I've stopped using it. It gives me instant stuffy nose. I get a headache, and then sometimes it gives me diarrhea.
I never noticed the diarrhea, but I don't normally notice the connection.
What doesn't give you diarrhea, Paul?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. But nothing turns a lady on like shitting yourself.
Luckily, I've never had that problem. No, I'm a mucus only. Just recalcitrant holes are only in the front of my body.
I'm just you gotta hold that in, man. You gotta hold it in. You can't be
all right, guys. I need to wrap this one up, man. This was a good one. Hopefully people enjoyed it. We went from diapers to stuffy noses to shitting yourself.
We came full circle back to poop.
We came, it's all about diapers. That was the theme of this episode. Diapers.
Diapers.
Wear diapers.
What are you? Okay, usually you're pretty clever when it comes to naming stuff and putting stuff in the line. So I know that you're going to find some way to include diapers in the name of this episode.
Colin's more clever than me. You'll have to come up with a name.
I can't. I find no connection between it being Paul's birthday and him, not looking a day over 60 and adult diapers. So I have to think about it. I don't know, guys.
Cialis and poop-filled diapers. There we go.
Colin, do you still do stand-up comedy?
I just don't have the fucking time with the gym, Todd. Like I tried doing some online stand-up comedy with like Dat Wen was running a show at his place in LA, but it just it's not the same as being up in front of people. So I'm sad. I go to the gym 6 days a week and I look at my fucking phone between sets and I see all these videos and pictures of the guys and girls I used to do it with, and they're having all this success now, and I'm so happy for them. But no, I haven't been able to in like a while, dude. Sucks. I still write material, but I just don't perform it really.
Well, you can come on and perform it for all the bros.
If they'll have me.
If they'll have me.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Big into stand-up comedy more so now than ever before.
Yeah, well, definitely get at me. Let me know who your favorite stand-ups are. I might have some recommendations for you.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Cool. Happy birthday, Paul.
All right,
gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you, audience, for watching. Take care.